we go. Is it picking up my mic now? There we go. Sorry about that. I didn't think it was gonna do that again. My frickin' OBS setup keeps like disconnecting my microphone from the fricking thing. So yeah, that's wonderful. But I'm taking the TMBOTC channel. I hate that OBS keeps doing that, and I have to reset it in the settings back to the headset I want it to be on. I'm just trying to close some stuff so that this game doesn't run like ass. We're going to talk to this lady, but I wanted to talk about 3 things Mass Effect does better than Baldur's Gate 3. Now, keep in mind that,
Just
oh, it's
give me
still
a
kind of
moment.
loud. Why does it still feel kind of loud? What the frick? Fine, if you want to frickin'... Maybe I should turn down voice. Yeah. Here, we'll do that. There you go. But I wanted to talk about 3 things. I need to make sure the game's not overpowering me when it comes to talking about this. So keep in mind that I really love Baldur's Gate 3. As a matter of fact, Baldur's Gate 3 has pretty much jumped into my top 3 favorite games of all time. I freaking love this game. I'm now playing through Astorian's story because I want to see how the vampire aspects play out. And there might be a little more something I might talk about at the end, a 4th thing, so to say. And
a mind flayer tadpole.
That'll be saved for last, though. So let's just get into the 3 things. Now, keep in mind also that these 3 things, I can definitely see people debating them or seeing different perspectives or sides to them. Whatever it may be. This is just kind of my perspective, so just keep that in mind. But I love both the Mass Effect series, and I love the Baldur's Gate series. But specifically, the reason I picked out Baldur's Gate 3 was because I noticed something specifically from Baldur's Gate 3 that Mass Effect does have a stronger presence over, and that's including like all 3 of the Mass Effects technically. So you could still count it as like, oh hey, like the fact that one game is going up against 3 is quite a feat. So, and I think it is. I think it's a really good game, and I can't believe, like, I originally, when I saw the trailers to Baldur's Gate coming out, they were mostly cinematics and stuff. I didn't really care. I mean, I thought I liked the original Baldur's Gate games, but I wasn't like super crazy about it, and I wasn't super into Dungeons and Dragons. So, and the trailers just didn't feel like they helped make me care enough for it. But then I heard everything about the game, and I went, and when I finally got to pick it up and play it, I played the hell out of it. I freaking tried to see every aspect of it, dialogue options, different playthroughs and stuff. It was great. There were so many different aspects I loved to it, and it jumped up there. It was jumping up there, even though I don't know if it beats my play time with other video games like Skyrim. I know I've played Skyrim a lot. I know I've played Fallout 4 a lot. I know I've played, and people see those as like bare bones RPGs, even though RPG aspect isn't just in the dialogue itself.
Victims can identify each
other.
Not that the others know their
But yeah, there's still things
How'd you pick up the parasite?
that those games do well in the role-playing aspects. And that's also in the gameplay and how you create your character through how you build your character more like it.
A mind flayer ship?
So here's the 3 things that the first thing that I have to say is I think that Mass Effect villains are better than Baldur's Gate 3 villains. The reason is because Baldur's Gate 3 has, now they both definitely have a lot of villains, because you have to think about the side villains, or like, you know, side quest villains. And these definitely, they both have that. But I think because the Mass Effect games do a good amount of focus on the who the main villain is.
I
I always
hope it
pick I
doesn't
swear
come to that.
because it
But
makes those two happy.
thank you.
Um,
Here.
and I have Gale with
You know,
he kind of
I've
just
spent my life
whatever.
treating folk and never
But
once fought a mind flare infection.
the villains
But
have a
somehow,
lot
there's
more
dozens of you.
screen time
Maybe
as well as
more.
staying
Master Halsin
power
and I
in the
were
Mass Effect
tracking,
series, or maybe
studying,
not
trying
as
to
much
figure out
screen
what
time
the
unless we're
hell
talking
was
about
going
Elusive
on.
Man. But they definitely have more staying power.
Because you
You
should all
definitely
be
know who
changing.
they are and their
There should
motives
be
and
a
stuff.
small army
Where
of
in
mind
Baldur's
flayers
Gate
out there.
3 in
But you're not.
particular, where the original two
Weird
Baldur's
powers
Gate games
aside,
had, you had like
you seem
Servok. I'm
perfectly
trying to
normal.
remember who the other guy is. He's a really cool villain in the second one. But they did a good focus on those, and that's also probably because it's frickin' BioWare. But
Mind
yeah, they
flayers
had a
only produce
focus
by
on the
infecting someone
villains
with their
more.
parasite.
And you know,
7
Saren
gruesome
Artrius,
days
even
later,
Sovereign,
the
even though
victim
Sovereign doesn't
transformed
have
and a
much
new
screen
mind
time,
flayer was
you'll
born.
remember his
The thing
entire
in your skull, though,
you could
it's different to
technically
anything in our
sum it up to
records.
like
It's one of their
frickin'
worms for sure.
exposition banter, but
But this one
it's
gives
still
you
a cool
powers,
part.
telepathic
And because he's
connections.
part of the
But
main
it doesn't turn
threat
you into
that
one of them. Not
plays
yet,
out throughout all
anyhow.
the games that you're trying to fight against, which is the Reapers, he still plays into
Could
that
be.
and
There's a
a
lot we
way that
don't
you
know.
remember him still.
Infected.
But yeah, the villains
Folks like
stand out a
you.
lot more. They
They've
don't
been
like take for
converging on an old
example the
temple of Selûne,
three
and
villains in
I've no
this
idea
game that
why.
they
When
have
Master
focus
Halsin
on,
heard the
such as
adventurers
Orin,
were heading that way,
Gortash, and
he saw a
General
chance to get in.
Thorm. First off, these three
Joined on the
villains don't
spot.
come until
Whatever
later in
he
the
found
game.
there,
They have cool
he didn't make it
introductions,
back.
but not only that, they don't have much screen time, especially General Thorm. He kind of just like is there for a very short amount of time, even though he's one of the villains I do genuinely like. But
The thing is, I've sent birds to find him. But the
yeah, they
place
just
is
don't give
rotten
any
with
other villains.
goblins.
And then there's
None of
villains
us
that
can even
are
get close.
more
You, though,
complex, which is a
you're
good
one of them.
thing. Like,
Technically
for
speaking, I mean.
example, Minthara and
They
stuff.
won't
But it
kill
does
someone
feel
carrying their
overwhelming with
parasite.
the amount of
If you
villains
can find
and
Halsin and get
kind
him
of
out of there,
anti
we
hero
can discover
ish
what he learned.
characters and stuff.
And perhaps he can save your life.
So they have a better
How's that
focus. You
sound?
even got like Mass Effect 2 with the collectors and especially Harbinger. You're never going to forget Harbinger and that freaking awesome sick voice that
Thank
guy
you.
has. That's the same guy
It
from
would mean
Dead
everything to
Space
the group.
that plays
To me.
what's his name,
I
Dr.
wish I could tell you
Kleiner or
more.
Dr. Klein or
But
something,
only those
whatever his
adventurers
freaking
know
name
what
was, the
happened out there.
crazy scientist dude.
All I can say for
That's
sure
against
is they
unitology and
all
trying to
went to
help
the
you
old
out.
temple of
He
Selûne.
gets shot before
And
he gets
Master
to
Halsin
escape.
didn't make it back.
That
Give up
guy,
that
he
day.
also plays
And if things start
he's
to
the
go
guy
bad,
that's in the
remember
interrogation
the
room
vial.
trying to keep Joker from
Remember your
escaping,
oath.
and Joker is like taunting
One
him
step at a
so that
time,
Joker
Betty.
can
You know.
eventually use him so he
Come
can
on.
get his phone call.
It'll take more than a nasty drink to finish Lae'zel of Cretin.
But yeah, I found that the villains, because they don't have much staying power and that they're more in the later half of the game, I also found some of them weak. Like Gortash is kind of a weak villain in my opinion. He feels like a Final Fantasy. He looks kind of like he came out of a Final Fantasy game with the way he's dressed and everything. And then you got frickin' Orin, which is definitely not a bad villain, but she is a kind of a try-hard villain in being like this murderous psychopath. She's kind of like uh lesser, not a lesser Harley Quinn, but I don't know. She doesn't stand out particularly that strong to me either. I think Dark Urge wise she does, but otherwise she's just kind of yeah, tryharding, being this psychopath that comes across you. She's really like in your face and such a lot. Not that she's bad. She's still written good. I still like her. I just think
Once upon
there's
the
some qualities of
stars
her that
tonight,
I would prefer the Mass Effect villains. And then you got
smile
Elusive Man in Mass
and
Effect.
will
He stands out as a
fade
big
away.
villain too. You get to know
Words of
him because you have to
mine
work
won't
alongside him in
tell.
Mass Effect 2, and then he becomes a big antagonist in the third game, sorry. So, yeah, but you understand his motivations and why. But he's also still
More like
he's
butchering.
still a mysterious
Maybe by a
character
body.
too. Oh, there's some
No,
frame rate,
a
sorry about
moment's
that.
away from a grisly death
But
at the
I
hands of
think
this
just
bloody
because they
foe.
are able to
I can't.
have a
Nothing
focus on
fits,
the
you know?
characters that they want to, a lot better than Baldur's Gate does, I feel like the villains stand out and are much better in the Mass Effect series than they are in Baldur's Gate 3. Just alone. Like, I could even take just one of the games, even.
It can't hurt.
All right. I think
I
that's
have
mostly
heard.
all I had to say about
I
the
have an
villain
extra
side of
link,
things. I'm
if you
sure
want.
there's definitely more to be said. But let's go into the next thing. Now, this one I can definitely see debate on, but I'm going to argue it anyways.
My
So,
teacher, Lihala.
I was going to say that
She
Mass Effect,
loved
in my
dancing.
opinion,
I
kind
had
of
to
does
let feet mind.
romances
I remember
better.
waking up one night on the
I
road
know
and
that
seeing her
one's going to be debated,
dancing beneath the stars,
definitely.
a huge
I
smile
mean,
on her face,
frickin' the
thinking of a
romances are
girl.
good in this, and I can
My heart
see why
hurts.
people like the romances as
And my
well,
words just
probably. They
seem to
probably have some sick
crumble
fetish or
like
something.
mush. Wait,
As well as the different ways you can romance different partners.
words of
But you can also
mine
do
will
that in Mass
turn
Effect.
to
I think
ash.
it's more the
That's
character
perfect.
development building up to where they get to later. Like, take for example the first.
Words of when you
I'm probably
kissed.
gonna get copyright
Sorry.
claims, so I gotta skip the song. I'm sorry about that. Oh,
She'd have said
great,
the
the
same
song.
thing.
Let me see if there's a way to
Where's the
freaking
first time you
cancel
danced?
out the music.
Lihala cried.
There's gotta
My
be,
teacher,
because it might be under accessibility. Yeah, I have genitals on, whatever. Had that on for my other
didn't
series.
even know
Only
my
reason
name.
is because, like, I'm not
So
walking around
good.
naked like that other one, and I don't want that. Let's see,
So sweet.
so center.
Reminds me of your
Maybe I
cradle
should just
roll.
turn off
Light
the
skin
music. Where's
burning.
music?
Then melted away.
Shut the frick up. There you go. It's going to frickin' the music's gonna copyright claim me, so yeah, you'll probably notice that there's a muted spot in this video once it goes up. So that sucks. But
She'd yell at me for that clunky
yeah,
verse
when it comes
and make me play
to
till my
the
fingers were numb.
romances, I think it's the
And that's
character
exactly
development.
what I'm
Take
going to do.
Shadowheart, for example. Shadowheart goes
Finish
on
the
a date
weeping
with
dawn
you, and
for
there's a
her.
lot of like character
I've a long way
development. You
to go.
get to know her character throughout,
But thank you.
and you
I
finally get to,
I needed this.
romance her and be much more personal with her. You get to have sex with her. uh, at the very end, the very last act of the game, pretty much, when you've pretty much known almost everything there is about the character and all this other stuff going on around you and other characters and stuff, especially if you're the Dark Urge or something. You have character development there. By the time you get to the end of the game, you kind of know each other well and everything, and it's like, that's good. Other characters so much, they want to bang right away. And while they're still developed very well, even though I know there's probably some people in real life that, like the heat of the moment, they would do that thing, especially in their situation, like Karlak, for example. It's like she hasn't gotten to touch a soul in forever. Like, that makes sense. That makes sense. But realistically and character wise, I just don't find it nearly as believable or as interesting, or it doesn't give the time to be interesting. So a lot of the characters,
You
while still
ever scare me
developed
like that
very
again, and
well, a
I'll
lot of the
feed you to a
characters
no.
you finally get
Dad,
together with
I'm fine.
for that,
Stop it.
sexy time moment
Our little Hellion
are
told
at
us
the
what happened.
very ends of each of
Thank
the
you.
final
Don't
acts
know what we'd do
of
without her.
each Mass Effect game. And that's not even including characters that you probably get to know throughout. Like, take Tally and Garrus, the two best freaking characters in the series, and you not only get to know them even though from Mass Effect 1, but you never get to, bang them at all. And then Mass Effect 2, you get to know them even further. You got two big games of development time. And then
Likewise. Arabella?
you just have a lot more
Thank you
development by the third game,
for
and your
helping me.
relationship feels much more full by then. Much more
Honestly, I
interesting.
think the
Ah,
gunplay in Baldur's Gate 3 is a bit better.
shut the frick. You scared the crap out of me, dude. Uh, I'm talking about romances. I think romances are better in Mass Effect because of the character development. I was saying because you get to grow your bonds with the characters, where a lot of the characters are still developed really well, but they want to bang you immediately. Some of them. And while it's understandable in like Karlach's case, she doesn't bang you immediately. She has to be the God. This frame rate. I'm gonna be getting out of here anyways, so that this frame rate isn't freaking disaster. Whoops. There we go. Let's go here. But yeah, Karlach makes sense, and she wants to get with you, and you can still like reject doing that even then. She can just kind of hold you in bed instead of like you bang. I've even tried that dialogue option. It's adorable, but like you kind of feel sad for her in that case. uh, but yeah, I just find Mass Effect more believable because you have you have a lot more development. Liara and like frickin' Caden and Ashley, like yeah, you can bang them at the end of Mass Effect, but that's at the end of Mass Effect when you get to know them more throughout that game. So it's at least a little makes a little bit more sense there. That you got to know a lot about them and it's like a lot of hours, especially like if you're doing like if even if you're not doing trying to complete the game, like I did recently a hard, is it insane or hard? I think it's insane. I think I'm thinking of a different game with the whatever the hardest difficulty is called in Mass Effect. I forget the name of it. But I did all three Mass Effect games while trying to do everything, try to collect every piece of intel, everything that that game has, every piece of lore, whatever. Basically, completionist levels of trying to get through that game. And you have like plenty of hours of getting to know the characters and stuff. There's just a lot more development time between your romance partners. And there are so many romance partners as well in freaking Mass Effect. God, this freaking dumbass headset thing. I have a headset that goes over my other headset because the ear parts frickin' do the stupid sticking out thing. Sadly, I need to get a new headset. Is basically what I'm trying to say. So so I think I'm done talking about the romance part. And ironically, Dave, are you still here?
Yeah.
I was gonna talk about gameplay being the other factor why Mass Effect is better. Here's it's okay. This is preference, though. This is still, like I said with the other two, I can still see arguments defending the other preferences. And this game sold a lot, so you can definitely tell people don't mind the gameplay or think that it is probably really good. Here's the thing, though. I think because Mass Effect is a shooter, it's going to attract more attention to it. There's more people that love shooters, you know, people have short attention spans and stuff. People are going to attract more to a shooter while it's also giving you that really smart, well-written story at the same time as a and I wouldn't say it's always the best type of shooter. Like Mass Effect 1 kind of ages poorly. Unless we're talking about chargeable weapons, which is a cool idea, and I kind of like that they brought some guns for the DLC and such in Mass Effect 3 back, where you have those types of rechargeable weapons. But people are going to be more attracted to a shooter game than they are, you know, this top-down kind of RPG game, turn-based RPG game. A lot more people are going to be attracted to that. It's going to have a big audience. Just look at Call of Duty's audience alone. Just freaking ridiculous. And even though I would never say that Mass Effect is even near, no, actually Call of Duty is nowhere near freaking Mass Effect's level in my opinion, because it's not nearly as good. Especially nowadays when I just don't care about Call of Duty anymore. There's been so many Call of Duty games that have screwed up and done so many stupid things, as well as Activision is such a crappy company. I know EA is the company that now publishes BioWare games, but if I'm thinking BioWare, BioWare had let's see, Dragon Age 2, Mass Effect Andromeda, and Anthem. I can nearly can't think of like
True soul.
I can think of so many goddamn frickin' Call of Duties that have frickin' screwed up, but this isn't about Call of Duty.
Do you have
So
orders for us?
we're forgetting that.
We were reporting to
But
head
what I'm
camp.
trying to get at is that people are going to be more attracted to a shooter type of game. So they're probably going to be more attracted to Mass Effect because of that. And ironically, I think that's all I have to say on that too. Those are the three things. Now, here's the other thing I want to get to that I was going to say. This isn't a fourth thing. This isn't saying that, like, I think that Mass Effect is better than Baldur's Gate in this term, but I wanted to talk about this anyway. So I've been playing each of the different characters, especially the side characters that you can play as. Hold on, where is this option? Yeah, I want them to avenge their
It
brother.
killed one of us. It killed Edwin.
But
It's an enemy of the absolute.
when it
You're
comes
right,
to the
sir.
last thing I
The
want to
beast
talk
must
about,
be destroyed.
I want to talk
Keep us
about,
just ahead. It was
like,
too much
for
to
example, I
explore,
play
but
Karlak,
if you could
and she
help us
has a
through
thing
some,
where she
we may
burns
stand a
people and
chance.
stuff. While that's kind of taken advantage of, I feel like it could go further. They could go further with that, because it's weird. You can technically romance
Whatever it is,
characters,
the absolute
and
is
while
a
some
powerful
characters don't
Strange
get
power
together with
resonates
you
within the
until
corpse.
you
It
finally
calls
do
to you.
fix your heart, I do wish there were things in between still there where it would let you know that, like, oh, you could burn this people. I actually wish they would take advantage of that stuff. Like, for example, Lysel wants to frickin' do it with you.
Why let its host's
Uh,
memories
she
be
goes, of
erased?
course, she wants to lick
The
your
dead
neck
ones
there.
absorbed it
Like,
all.
you could have taken,
Its
like I was saying
experience
the
could
funny thing
nourish
with, like,
you.
if you had long hair and you were like, she licks your neck, and it would be funny if there was like an alternate scene where she's like, like spitting out hair. That would be funny. The same thing with her being burnt trying to lick Karlak. But guess what? If you look up that romance or you even go through with it, it plays out the same. What? She's gonna freaking burn herself. After that scene happens, she should be a freaking crispy skeleton or something when I go, when I go back to camp. Why the frick did they not take advantage of stuff like that? I mean, with some of the other characters, they'll be like, oh, you gotta wait until the second act when you fix your heart. But no, with like characters like Lysel, it's like, no, we want to bang immediately. It's like, but she's gonna burn you! And then they don't take advantage of that. I feel like there's even dialogue options. Like, for example, one that I noticed is when you're talking to Kaga. Yes, her name's that. I want to call her Kaka. Such a stupid name. Um, but like when you're talking to her, there's a section of dialogue options, and you know where they're gonna go. And I feel like you already know which dialogue option. I feel like there might need to be these other dialogue options in some places where it's not quite as obvious where it's going to go with how you do it. I also think there are things that could be also taken advantage of. Take, for example, the Zathis that you go, that machine. And it's like that entire sequence is such a like intense scene because you think somebody's gonna die in that contraption. A matter of fact, I thought if I kept having Lysel sit in it and torture herself essentially, that she was going to explode her head or something. They never do that. Isn't this supposed to be Baldur's Gate, a Dungeons and Dragons where there's unpredictable circumstances of like you randomly dying potentially? Where the frick was that there? There needs to be a little bit more of that, maybe. I've seen some of it, but I don't feel like it's quite as like prevalent or strong. I don't know. There's just something about it that just doesn't feel nearly as strong that than it should have
It
could have
doesn't.
been.
It doesn't feel very hostile to the players as much as you might expect.
Yeah. So I would like to see a part where Lysel's head pops.
I think that needs to only happen if you lose the role or something.
Well, even if you lose the role, it still plays out that way, though. That's the thing. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you do. Like, even if you're not doing the roles, it still plays out the same. Like, if you're just going all in and being like, oh, hey, Lysel, just, you know, keep thinking about your queen and, your head won't pop at all. Oh, wait, your head didn't pop, okay. Oh, that still played out the same. What if I do the other option, the rolls and stuff? No, it pretty much plays out the same. I don't think I've ever seen her die on that thing, and yet I feel like she should have died on that thing. Or that there should be a moment where she does. Because they do take advantage of other things, like especially endings. Like if you have the bad ending for Lae'zel, it's a freaking hell of a bad ending. But like other than that, I feel like scenes like that need to also take advantage too. I think they need to take advantage of almost everything. Now I'm testing a Astorian right now because I want to see how his vampire traits, and while there's some of that stuff, I feel like it's going to dwindle out as well near the middle half from what I'm seeing. So they don't feel like they need to take more advantage of some of these things.
This rubbish is an offering to Saluna. At best,
But
it's
yeah.
worthless. At worst,
I think that's pretty much all I have to say on that one too. I want to make this a shorter video, and get those through. Tell me what you think. Definitely share your opinions or your perspectives. Me and Shadowheart are going to date. But I'm just trying to get certain options out of the way. Jeez, this thing keeps falling off my goddamn head. This thing sucks. It's freaking annoying. Anyways, that's all I have to say about those. Technically 4 things, but one of them is. Oh yeah, I guess the other thing I would add is even though I would technically say I would add more dialogue options to Mass Effect, I still think I would keep things mostly the same. I mean, of course, the ending of Mass Effect 3, or the endings, if you can call them that. Yeah, but otherwise, it mostly satisfies me, whether Renegade or Paragon or whatever, with what it does offer. But I can see leeway here and there. So you could technically say both games do a really good job, but I feel like because of the extent of how hard Baldur's Gate 3 is going, it is a little bit more noticeable when they don't take advantage of that stuff. Or Mass Effect, when it doesn't, you don't notice it quite as much. Unless it's the ending of Mass Effect 3. Also, I do think the Paragon Renegade options could have been stronger in Mass Effect 3 as well, if I had one other thing to say. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video nonetheless. I will see you next time. And if you liked this video, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Leave your comments below, and I will see you next time. Bye bye. And the kind of cameo from Dave. He's the Stan Lee, I guess, of this video.
I'm taking credit for the whole thing just because I'm great at marketing myself.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not really taking all that much credit. It's really everyone thinks I'm the only person that created this entire video.
Whoops, I was a bit loud. Sorry.